Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be looking at the most ignored Pokemon in the Pokemon trading card game. And I mean this sincerely. The most ignored Pokemon. There are many Pokemon out there that haven't seen a huge amount of love. But the most ignored Pokemon out there is Mantyke. And the evidence for this is pretty compelling and honestly fairly easy to explain. Mantyke made his debut in the Pokemon trading card game in the Diamond and Pearl base set, given that it is a Generation 4 Pokemon. That was released in English in May 2007, that is 12 years and 2 months ago. Since then, ladies and gentlemen, not a single solitary Mantyke card has been printed. That's right, we have had one Mantyke card ever. And that is frankly ridiculous. To put this into context, Sawsbuck is a Pokemon that I made a video about the other day. There's a new Sawsbuck coming out. And I said that Sawsbuck was a very ignored Pokemon because it is only the third Sawsbuck ever. We got our first Sawsbuck in the black and white base set. We got our second Sawsbuck in Emerging Powers. And we're getting our third Sawsbuck. Well, it's not actually going to be in Unified Minds. It's actually going to be in Cosmic Eclipse. So that's a Pokemon that's not seen a huge amount of love. Came around in black and white. And we're finally getting our third Sawsbuck ever. The thing is, black and white is Gen 5. That is a whole generation later than Mantyke. And yet it's up to having 3 different cards. Now, as a side note, there are actually 4 different Sawsbuck types to represent the 4 seasons. And admittedly, we've only seen 2 of those. But still, 3 Sawsbuck, I'm counting it. I mean, the most recent Pokemon in terms of when they were chronologically introduced are the Ultra Beasts, like Ultra Necrozma, for instance. And Ultra Necrozma's already had the GX, which has been printed like 1,000,000 times. It's been printed as a promo. It's been printed as a gold version. It's had like 3 different releases. And it's already had the non-GX promo version. Or we could look at Melmetal. Melmetal is the latest Pokemon that's actually been revealed in terms of the Pokedex, etc. Doesn't really fit neatly into any of the games per se. Kind of came around in Let's Go. Little bit weird. But even if we have a look at Melmetal, even Melmetal's seen more love. Featured in the Tag Team GX with Lucario, and it's had its own GX, and it had its own card in Unbroken Bonds, which incidentally was also a pre-release promo. So even Melmetal has seen more love than this. There's an awful lot of people out there that think that their favourite Pokemon has not seen enough love or just been given enough respect in the Pokemon TCG in general. And for a whole bunch of Pokemon, yeah, I'm happy to agree with that. But nothing comes close to Mantyke here. Now, if we have a quick look at the Mantyke card, because, you know, we might as well at least look at what the only card actually does. It's not particularly good, if I'm honest with you. Now, we shouldn't really expect it because it is a baby Pokemon. More on that in a minute. It's got the Pokepower Baby Evolution, which a bunch of the ones did back in Diamond and Pearl. Once during your turn, you may put Mantine from your hand onto Mantyke. This evolves Mantyke. And remove all damage counters from Mantyke. So essentially, you can evolve it and you can properly heal. And it's got a free attack, 0 energy, search your deck for a water Pokemon that is a basic, show it to your opponent and put it into your hand, which is kind of adding insult to injury here, because you're not even putting it straight onto your bench so you can evolve it next turn. It's in your hand so that next turn you can bench it, and the turn after you can evolve it, but it's still only a basic you can search for. So it's kind of objectively bad as a card. But it is a baby Pokemon after all, we don't expect too much. Except, you know what? We've seen a whole bunch of baby Pokemon released since. We saw that in Heart Gold Soul Silver we got a whole bunch of baby Pokemon. Like, we got Cleffa that saw quite a lot of play, we saw Pichu that saw quite a lot of play, and Smoochum. We saw a bunch of the baby Pokemon coming around in Heart Gold Soul Silver. And even more recently, we've actually had a whole bunch of baby Pokemon. We went without baby Pokemon for a long time, and now we're actually starting to see them coming back around in the most recent expansion, Unbroken Bonds. So we got ones like the new Cleffa and the new Tyrogue. The hook this time around is they've got abilities that you can use even when they're on the bench. Flip a coin, if heads it does something. Cleffa gives you a new hand of 6, Tyrogue does 3 damage. But if you flip tails, nothing happens, and regardless, you still end your turn. Okay, cool. They're kind of fun. No Mantyke yet. Now that doesn't mean we're not getting a Mantyke. I think if you're really desperate for a Mantyke, we are in a better position than we've been in for a long time, because we are starting to get new baby Pokemon coming around. And I mean actual baby Pokemon. Not like Baby Buzzwole, which we call Baby Buzzwole, but is in fact non-GX Buzzwole, and frankly we should all be a little bit more precise with our language. So for instance, Wynaut is going to be coming in Unified Minds, so we are, at the moment at least, in a place where more baby Pokemon are coming around. Incidentally, I mean, let's take Munchlax as an example. It again was a Gen 4 baby Pokemon. It made its debut in the Diamond and Pearl expansion of the trading card game. But then we got another Munchlax in Majestic Dawn. And then we got 2 Munchlax in Rising Rivals. And then we got the new baby Munchlax, which is going to be coming around in Unified Minds. So in the same period of time, we're basically getting 5 Munchlax to the 1 Mantyke. See? Have I made my case well enough yet? Have I convinced you how badly Mantyke has been ignored by the Pokemon Company? Just because these new Pokemon are coming around, incidentally, does not mean that we're definitely getting a Mantyke, because, you know, other baby Pokemon have had Prince and Mantyke's been ignored. But here's potentially, for me, the weirdest part of this story. There are actually 2 other Mantyke, which came around only in Japan. Now, I don't count these, because they are owners' Pokemon. They are both Samia's Mantyke. And there are 2 Samia's Mantyke, even though we've only ever had 1 proper Mantyke. And they are both separate, different cards that were released in Japan separately and differently. That's so weird. So we did get one in the movie commemoration versus pack C's Manaphy, which was released to commemorate the Japanese screening of Pokemon Ranger and the Temple of the Sea. It was released in July 2006. And then, because apparently 1 Samia's Mantyke was not enough, we actually got another one, which was part of a Meiji chocolate campaign in June 2006. So even though we only ever got 1 proper Mantyke, there are 2 Samia's Mantyke running around over in Japan. That's weird, right? I cannot be the only one that thinks this is weird. Now, in terms of Mantine, yeah, we're fine. We got one in Mysterious Treasures, we got one in Heart Gold Soul Silver, we got one in Steam Siege, we actually got one super recently in Lost Thunder, so yeah, we're fine. I mean, even if we ignore all the pre-Diamond and Pearl Mantine, since the release of this, we've already had 4 different Mantine, so it's not like we can really fall back on that. And my last word before we end up this video today, I know that a bunch of you are going to be thinking, well, hang on a second, Wassy. Kadabra. We haven't had a new Kadabra since Skyridge. And yes, that is true. But firstly, there's a good reason with lawsuits, etc. And secondly, we had base set Kadabra. And then we had another Kadabra in Expedition. Then we had the Kadabra in Skyridge. And we had Dark Kadabra. And we had Sabrina's Kadabra. So even though it's been longer since we had a Kadabra, one, there's a good reason. And two, Kadabra's had more than one print. So I ain't counting it. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Mantyke, the most ignored of all the Pokemon in the trading card game. But now it's over to you guys. Which Pokemon do you think have been ignored by the Pokemon Company? Which Pokemon do you think we need a new card of stat? Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't even have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.